Welcome. Welcome to the May meeting of the Zonta Says Now Intercontinental Think Tank. My name is Sue Lees and I am one of your hosts today, and I am speaking from Victoria on the east coast of Australia. When you can see me, you can see behind me, I have some First Nations artwork. It's from the Northern Territory, and we're very fortunate to be able to have wonderful work like this in Australia. Please remember housekeeping, to keep your microphone on mute during the presentations, and you are welcome to ask questions or make comments in the chat line. Please use the chat line to say where you are from. We will record today's meeting, but the conversations in the breakout rooms will not be in the final recording. So here is our Australian team today. Today, we are joining the think tank from 6 states in Australia, as shown by the stars on the map. Christine Trinidad is joining us from her holiday in Queensland, which is a lovely place to holiday. And Carol Theobald will be operating Zoom behind the scenes and monitoring the chat line, so please feel free to use it. Today, our journey focuses on Mother Earth. So let's get started. We are delighted to welcome you all, especially first-timers, to the think tank. Each month, we highlight a United Nations International Day. The 22nd of April marks International Mother Earth Day. Mother Earth Day brings attention to the intersection of gender and environmental issues. Women often bear the greatest burdens of environmental degradation, facing challenges such as access to clean water, food security, and the impacts of climate change. Recognising and celebrating this day helps to elevate women's voices in environmental discussions, promotes gender equality in decision-making processes related to environmental protection, and empowers women to be leaders in sustainable development efforts. As today's meeting comes from Australia, we thought it would be lovely to take a minute and celebrate our very wonderful nature down under. Carol.
To share in something extraordinary, you have to go somewhere extraordinary, where life evolved on a different path and filled the land with more endemic wildlife than any other country on the planet. Where you just might find someone who will show you something you never thought possible. A place where life exists, free, unique, and truly wild. You feel it beneath your feet with every step. And the air around you, filling you with every breath. Where a single moment can change your whole world. And your world will never feel the same again. Discover what it feels like to make a real connection. Share in something extraordinary. To share.
And I just have to tell you that those beautiful kangaroos and wallabies that you saw, which we do love very much, but I have spent the morning in our local park, which we're regenerating, building fences because we plant plants and the kangaroos and the wallabies think that it's brunch on Sunday morning for them. So they do have issues too. And now I'll hand over to Vicky Carmen-Brown in Tasmania to explain why Zonta says now.
Thanks, Sue. So let's remind ourselves why Zonta says now to gender equal climate action. This train was built during the Industrial Revolution, a time when humans started to put more greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere, where they are accumulating, forming a blanket around the planet and causing global heating and associated extreme weather events. Extreme droughts, fire, floods, and storms trigger social disruption, causing millions of people to lose their livelihoods and homes. This social disruption magnifies any existing inequality, including gender inequality. Zonta says now stops that train by advocating for governments to meet their obligations under the Paris Climate Agreement and closing the gender equality gaps in education, health, economic opportunity, and safety. Climate change impacts women and girls of all ages in all countries. These are the women and girls who inspire us to take action. In Sudan, Dabor, aged 9, must walk further each day looking for food, water, and wood in her drought-affected country. There is no time for her to go to school, and she no longer dreams of being a teacher. In Mozambique, Ayan, aged 11, is frightened as she is being sold into marriage. Her family lost everything in the floods, leaving them destitute and unable to feed her. In Canada, Judith, aged 42, has a daughter, Claire, aged 7. Claire has severe asthma that is made worse by wildfire smoke. Judith is losing income as she must stay home to care for Claire and worries she may lose her casual job. In Australia, Maria, aged 79, walks to the local library to find relief from extreme heat as she cannot afford air conditioning in her rented apartment. She has a heart condition and worries about how she will financially, physically, and mentally survive the hot summer. In Nigeria, Ralia, aged 33, saw her entire market wash away in the floods, taking away her livelihood, and she is worried about how she will feed her children. In Germany, Freya, 51, was made homeless in floods. She has lived in temporary shelters for nearly 2 years and just wants a permanent place to live. Zonta says now seeks climate justice for women and girls. We want women to be able to prevent, prepare for, respond to, and recover from the impacts of climate change on the same basis as men. We do this by taking gender equal climate action locally, nationally, and internationally. I'll now hand back to Sue to introduce our guest speaker.
Thanks, Vicky. We are privileged today to welcome Professor Anne Poelina. Anne lives in Broome, you can see on the blue star on the map, in the Kimberley region of Western Australia, right at the top. She is a Nyikina Warrwa woman from the Kimberley region of Western Australia. Her culture goes back over 50,000 years. Professor Poelina is an active community leader, human and earth rights advocate, filmmaker, and respected academic researcher. Last year, massive floods caused devastation around Fitzroy Crossing, shown by the red star on the map. And Anne was heavily involved in helping the community recover. She is also one of 2 recipients of the Zonta Club of Melbourne on Yarra Women Taking Climate Action Awards. From next biennium, the award will be a District 23 award. This year, Professor Poelina shared the award with Alana Mountain, a young environmental advocate. Anne provided this video to thank the club for the award.
Mabubayan, good evening. Ngajunu nilawal Anne Poelina, ngayo imarwaramanen, ngai mandajara nyikinanganga, ngai nganga in Broome, Jugun and Yaru country, and Broome is my home. So I want to thank the Zonta Club of Melbourne on Yarra for this amazing award. It's called the Climate Change Award in 2023, and it's acknowledging the work that women are doing to bring our young women and young girls with us in terms of leading by example. So we're in a moment in time where climate change is very real. It has a huge impact across not just our nation, but across the world. And I think women come from a world of an ethics of care. We're born into a world where it's not about me, it's about we. And together we are standing with all of you to say thank you for this award. I acknowledge the co-winner of this award as well, this young Indigenous woman who's doing amazing work. And what we're saying is that we're standing together with not just each other, but with all of you, building a coalition of hope to deal with the climate change, the climate chaos, the climate uncertainty, and the voices of women, and particularly young girls and young women, need to be lifted up, valued and respected, because we have solutions that can work with our men together, stand in unity, work together, walk together, but bring our young people into an opportunity where there is intergenerational equity, that they will have a future when we're all gone. Kalia Mabu, thank you for this award. Thank you.
As you are all aware, Zonta Says Now is an international campaign working to raise the voices, concerns and positive actions of women across the earth regarding climate justice. We can only be successful and effective if we work together, which means that we need to understand issues relevant to different communities and regions and learn from each other so that our voices and actions are united and strong. We welcome today the opportunity to learn from you, Professor Poelina. Over to you now, Anne.
Yeah, fantastic. First of all, I want to say that I'm on a very unstable internet. There seems to be things going on, but this is a wonderful opportunity to come together. So in my language, I want to say, Mabubara, ngajenu nilawal Anne Poelina, ngayo imarwara manen, ngayo manda jara nyigana nganga, nganga in Jugun and Yaru country in Broome, ngayo home. So I'm just acknowledging the land, because as Indigenous people, we understand and we believe that the land is alive. It is a very active actor in everything we do and say. Yeah, I am back. It's just that, as I said earlier, I'm in Broome and the internet's very, very unstable today. So I first also wanted to acknowledge that it is Mother Earth Day, and it's such an important day for all of us to come together. So I was just introducing myself in my language, and one of the things I said is, I am a woman who belongs to the Warrwa, the Fitzroy River, in the Kimberley region of Western Australia, so that we see the river as a living ancestral serpent being. We laugh with it, we cry with it. It created our law, our duty of care to each other. Some of you are on board today from New Zealand, and I was so excited when I heard the Wanganui or the Whanganui get personhood. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, great. Just that some of the people are frozen on the screen. Yeah. So I heard the story, the Wanganui, the Whanganui had been granted personhood, and I was so excited. I went back to the other elders and I said, do you realise a river in New Zealand has been granted personhood? And they looked at me as if I was from another planet, and they said, in regards to our river, the river is not a human being, the river is not a human being. It is an ancestral being. It has a right to not only live, but a right to flow. So much of my work is looking at ancestral personhood, particularly around rivers, not just here in this country, but nationally and globally. Rivers are so important. They are the arteries of the and the umbilical cord of the planet, and they are connected, each and every nation, underground, in the sea, every which way. So rivers are so critical to our well-being and the ability that they hold life. Our river is called the river of life because this is what it does. This is the responsibility we have in terms of caring for that system. So as an Indigenous woman, one of the things is this concept of first law of the land, not law of man, is a philosophy, is a worldview that when we are born, we understand that these are values, ethics, virtues that allow us to navigate and negotiate how do we live as good and decent human beings in a civil society. So these first laws are what we call laws from the beginning of time. They're told in first law stories to teach us values, to teach us ethics, to teach us how we are to work together, live together, share together. So from my culture, we come from a world of we, not me. So it's about the collective well-being, which also includes our ancestral beings. And so from that perspective, we see that everything around us is alive. Everything around us has energy. Everything around us has a right to reach their full potential. This is so critical for our young people. And, a little while back, and I'm not sure where this case is sitting, but it was almost very, very disheartening when young people took the then Minister of the Environment to court, saying that ministers do have a fiduciary duty of care to ensure that our young people can inherit a world around us that is better than what we had. And so this intergenerational equity is a very, very important point for young people, but the courts in Australia actually found no, I just realised that when I drop out, the mute goes on and I'm talking away, but you can't hear me. Apologies for that. This is what we said, AI is in charge, ladies, and young women, so we need to be cautious and careful. But, this is all about those things. It's all about relationship. It's all about respect. It's all about how do we live in a reciprocal way and not just have rights, but have responsibility and duty of care, particularly to our young people and our young women. So the world that I come from is a world of first law, is a world of self-regulation. We didn't need rules, we didn't need statutes, we didn't need to be regulated. And so there's a real difference in terms of these worldviews between first law and Crown law in terms of how do we do these things. I actually write a lot about lawful, awful laws that are no longer fit for purpose, not just for us as human beings, but for the environment in which we live and love. So we're in a moment in time where there is a lot of complexity, but what we're dealing with is complex. And that's why we as Indigenous people are saying that if we are to unpack the planetary solutions for climate change, we must have Indigenous wisdom, Indigenous voices, particularly Indigenous women in here. Why? Because we as women are hardwired with an ethics of care and love and attention for everything around us. We are hardwired that way. So we think differently to men. We care differently. We need our men to walk with us, but we come into this world with this ethics of care as mothers. We learn very, very early that the world is really about a collective of all of us uniting, standing together in solidarity. And this is particularly important for Mother Earth Day, is that we as women need to open up, need to create. Yeah, so this is here to try us, but as I said, that's why we're resilient girls. 6 or 60, we're still girls, remember that? So very, very important that we hold these things, that we are special. We are special as women, but this is not to outer men. This is to say that for so long, in a way, the patriarchy, the male dominance of how we see in the world has really created a conflict paradigm. And we as women, not only are we hardwired to have an ethics of care and love, but our potential is about peace, about balance, about harmony, about sharing collective wisdom, because we know that we are living in Mother Earth as a collective, as human beings together. One of the things I say, and I sometimes get in trouble, is I say we're all indigenous to Mother Earth. That it is innate in us to think about the environment as being kin. You know, this has never happened to me before in terms of this little level of chaos and uncertainty. But I guess that, you know, all of us are here today because we want to share with each other. We want to learn. And so it is really up to us to sort of look at, how do we dream a new dream? How do we network nationally, globally, regionally? How do we come together so that we can share our understanding and bring the young women with us, so that when we transition out of this planet, we know that we've left the world in a good state? So I work from a basis that time for me is not linear, it is in a circle. And we as human beings, particularly women leaders, can only do what we can do in this moment in time. And so building this coalition of hope is so critically important, reaching out, finding people that care about Mother Earth, that care about young Indigenous women, that care about women and young women in general, is so important in a time where our world is still governed by patriarchy and dominated by that. I wrote a really beautiful poem a little while ago, and maybe a little later I can sort of send it back and share it. It was about not deconstructing the patriarchs, but reconstructing the matrix. And so what we need to look at is that we need to go back to those forms of capital that exist in our community: cultural capital, human capital, social capital. And how do we bring that into changing the model of that it can't be business as usual? And so this is an opportunity to come together, to share our knowledge, to share that Indigenous wisdom is so critical for right-sizing the planet. And, you know, as I keep saying, and in the paper that I've shared with you, is that if we as human beings befall our own demise, Mother Earth will go on, but she will be lonely without the footprints and the vibration of human beings. So we all coexist together. We need to really lift up this ethics of care and love, particularly because Mother Earth Day is here and right in front of us, and saying, what are the humans doing? What is changing the planet? What will give us the key to planetary and humanity survival? So from that perspective, with me coming in and out, I just wanted to sort of make a pause there, but really encourage you to read those two papers that has come from, you know, this amazing climate change book, because in that book it has been written by Indigenous people all over the planet, saying it's not just good enough for IPBES and IUCN to spotlight these places and say Indigenous people have been holding the last 80% of biodiversity around the planet. These places need serious investment. They need to be able to look at, how do we preserve what we have before we lose it? And so we're in a moment in time where we are dominated by the politics of economics, but I believe this ethics of care and love that is hardwired into us can be the catalyst for networking, can be the catalyst for transforming the planet, can be the catalyst for looking at new ways of having what we are creating, the forever economies, or the economies of well-being. And so these arguments are there to say that there are alternative ways. It should not be business as usual. And we as planetary citizens have got to raise our voices, particularly women. So what I say is that if you want to be a brave, you must be brave. So from that perspective, it's about sharing and this dialogue. And as I said, I do apologize because I am very remote and the internet keeps dropping out. But I think there's a lot there in terms of climate resilience, adaptation, preserving culture, holding on to our identity, particularly as unique and diverse women, looking at how do we come together with procedural and distributive decision making, hold each other close, even through a technology system such as this, and say that women are the transformers who are changing the planet, creating the dialogue, coming in with a sense of not just evidence-based, but with love, ethics of care, and a real duty of care to hold on to Mother Earth because our very survival depends on it. And as I close, I say that as Indigenous people, we have not walked away from the Garden of Eden. We have held on to it. We've loved it. We've tended it. And now what we're saying is that if the planet is to survive, we need each and every one of us on this call, in our networks, standing up, being brave, and coming to a conversation with good spirit, in good faith, looking for how we have these planetary solutions so our young people can have a climate chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Poelina, for today's talk and for getting through all the technical difficulties that you have being in a remote part of Australia. I'm Sandra Burns, and we also thank you for the 2 articles that you circulated. Not everyone might have had a chance to read those yet, but we do hope that you do take that time. I also want to thank, I've been checking on the chat there while we've been listening to Professor Poelina. There is a link there to the river in New Zealand. Thank you, Helen, for putting that up. And also there's a comment from Mita there about the rivers in India too, who have used that New Zealand example to achieve the similar outcome. So yeah, just look in the chat if you want those links there. And thank you also in the chat for everyone putting up where they are, because a lot of people I can see are right around the world, and you're up at night, and for once it's the middle of the day, or late morning for many of us here in Australia. Now we'd like to use the breakout rooms to discuss what we have learned to improve our understanding of climate justice and its implications for First Nations women everywhere, and to explore how we can support each other better. Now, we're going to go into 3 breakout rooms, and Carol will put you into those rooms, and we'd like you to return with at least 2 questions for Anne from each breakout room. Your group facilitators are Cheryl, Sue and Christine, and you'll have 10 minutes to come up with some questions for Anne. And then we're going to allow 15 minutes for questions and answers. So Carol will be putting you into those rooms now. And well, welcome back from the breakout rooms. We'll just wait till everyone's back in. And then I'll be calling on Cheryl, Sue and Christine to come forward with the questions. I'd just like to say in the room that I was in, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of comments from various women around the world, and connecting very closely with you, Anne, and what you had to say.
Everybody back?
I'm not sure if we've got everyone back yet.
I think they are.
Think they are?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll move on then. So first of all, I'm going to ask Cheryl if she has a question ready. We'll do 1 question, then I'll go to Sue and then to Christine, and hopefully we get around those questions before we run out of time. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. And thank you. 1 question came from District 25, which is Bangladesh and India area. And how can we taper your advice to our own needs in our developing country?
Yeah, no, this is a very important point. And the point I want to make is everything is place-based. Whether you're in India or whether you're sitting in on the Yarra River in Melbourne, everything is place-based. Remember the 5 R's? It's about building a relationship, coming from a perspective of respect, about reciprocity, not expectation, reciprocity, about having rights, but also responsibility. So these are the key values. Wherever you are in the world, build that relationship. Go and find the people that you need to reach out for. Make time to connect with people. You know, a lot of people think, oh, I've got to go to the north to find Indigenous people. No, they're right there sitting in the city. They're right there down in Kooyong Lakes. They're right there in Bondi Junction in Sydney. Like, we are everywhere. And what we're saying is that find the people, find these women. There are Indigenous women from Indigenous organisations wherever you are on the planet. And so build that relationship, get to know them, build the trust capital, which is so, so important. You know, sometimes you go in and you kind of go, oh, I didn't have a very good feeling about going to see those women. I'm not going back again. No, be brave, push the boundaries, go back, continue to build a relationship. When you build that relationship, hold it with respect, put the trust capital in. Those of you who have not worked with Indigenous people or people from diverse backgrounds, you will find your life will be transformed once you start to build these relationships. The connection between us, women to women, young women to old women to other old women, young women to young women, there is a connection there that comes, as I said, because we are hardwired to care. So from what I'm saying is that everything is place-based, whether you're in India or whether you're sitting in Sydney, go out there, reach out there, look for people. It was interesting, the previous ABS, the Australian Bureau of Statistics data in Australia, two datas ago, said that 60% of Australians still have not met an Indigenous person. 60% of Australians still have not met an Indigenous person whom they have a relationship with, not just passing in the street, hello, John or Jack or whatever, who have a relationship. So this is really part of our duty of care, is to reach out, extend yourself. That's what I mean when I talk about being brave. Put yourself in places that are uncomfortable for you, because this is the life we lead. We as Indigenous women have to reach out, we have to extend ourselves, we have to be able to move beyond not just white women, but old white men who are still in charge and holding the guard. So being brave is place-based stuff. You know, some Indigenous people say to me in this country, it doesn't matter where you go, whether you're in the city or not, doesn't matter about concrete, it's still country. So the land is alive. You have to form your relationship with this country. This is one of the things that I say in Australia, is that you are all part, if you live in Australia, you are all part of this country. You are now part of the memory of the land. Your children, your grandchildren, all of these people, we want you to make this, as we feel it, your home, where you believe passionately in this place and you want to transform the world that we live in. So it's place-based, it's being brave, it's reaching out. Every place where all of you are sitting on this platform today, have Indigenous women close to you in your communities. Go and find them, build a relationship of trust, respect, and your life will be transformed.
Thank you, Anne. That was terrific. We'll go to Sue now, so we don't waste any time. And your question from your group, please.
I'm actually going to hand over to Bridget, because poor Bridget got cut off by having to go out of the breakout room with her question. So, Bridget.
Thank you. I was just wondering, and the question is around the things that unite us from the environmental perspective, around the things that you talked about, which is water, and that's universal across the globe for one reason or another. But what is it, how, or what would your advice to Zonta be, I think, around the things where we still have differences? So if we talk to Canadian women or New Zealand women, Australian women, we talk about the particular barriers that Indigenous women may face. But then when you started to have that concept in the European context, it has there is no sort of a parallel. So I was just wondering, as an international organisation, what would your advice to be about how do we continue to, we know the things that unite us, but is there anything that we're missing in that sense?
This is a really interesting question, because one of the things I say, and I'm a multidisciplinary scientist, right? 3 masters, 2 PhD, Indigenous scientists. And what I say is that sometimes we're a little bit testosteroned out on science. We need a different way to tell the story, through film, through song, through dance, through theatre, through, you know, I just was talking to some young people a couple of weeks ago, and they've come back with a comic strip of me talking about how to defend the planet from a young person's perspective. And I thought it was so beautiful, 3 pages and it says a whole story. And that young people are looking for this wisdom, you know what I mean? Like they want to be able to connect. So I guess the point for me is find different ways to tell and celebrate the stories in your community through song, through dance, through art, through connection. So that's, my little bit of what do we need to do differently in this process, because I think we need a different way to tell the story. How do we reflect what Mother Earth wants to say? I've just actually published a whole book with another colleague of mine on poems for the Warrwa. And it's a different way to tell the story, which is non-threatening. It's a different way to tell the story so you can bring people with you. It's a different way in terms of interacting with our young people, because they are so switched on with technology. And how do they tell these stories? I used to make films that took half an hour. My children come along and they make films in 5 minutes because they say, Mum, people don't have half an hour. We need to be able to be very powerful storytellers, pick them up in 5 minutes, tell the meaning of the story and bring them with us. So I'm just saying, I would encourage you about poetry, around song, around dance. Food is such a brilliant connector in terms of the diversity of where we come from, bringing something different, sharing a plate, connecting with people, sharing food. How did you prepare that? What did you do? What's your trick for that? Build that sense of being a human being. Being a human being is a very, very big privilege, because we can think, we can reason, we can have logic. And it's even more special when you're a woman, because you're extra hardwired for these ethics of care and love and attention. So I'm just saying, try things differently. Don't always go in the way that you normally know. Reach out, find people, get to communicate in a different language, and try something other than peer-reviewed science, because we've got more than enough information that should tell us right now how we should be looking after Mother Earth, but we are not listening. And so we need a different way to tell the story.
Thank you, Anne. And we'll just move along to Christine from her group, please. Is Christine there? I can't see her on my screen. But while we're waiting for Christine, I'm not sure whether her internet's dropped out. If you wanted to ask another question, Cheryl, did you have another one you want to ask?
It was a curious question about, not a curious, but it was a curiosity about the rights that the river was given under the New Zealand law.
I think one of
how that would be translated into giving life and recognizing the river, the life that the river has to people in different countries. How would that be able to be translated or to help other people?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting story in regards to that. And remember, I said that one of the things was the granting of personhood. And so that is being picked up by different rivers in India, around the country and the globe. One of the things that we are arguing in terms of a change in that is ancestral personhood, that a river is perceived and believed to be an ancestral serpent being. And so how does that change the definition of personhood? So this is what we are doing. We say the river is alive. We can sing with it. We can dance with it. We cry with it. It's created our law, our whole identity. So one of the things is the Fitzroy River, or the Warrwa, is recognised as national heritage, which means it belongs to every Australian. It's also recognised in Western Australia as the largest registered Aboriginal cultural heritage site in Western Australia. Western Australia, for those of you that don't live in Western Australia, this is a crazy, crazy place. The laws are unlawful. They are not fit for purpose, not fit for the environment, let alone fit for Indigenous people, let alone fit for public interest matters. And so therefore this is that concept of being brave, pushing the systems, trying to get transformation in terms of looking at how do we get legal reform. The book that we have published, A Declaration of Peace with Indigenous Australians, with Nature and First Law, published 2 weeks ago, really gives a very, very clear case for those of you that are lawyers. I am not, but it gives a very, very clear case of how current law in this country could sit side by side with first law. One of the things about the Wanganui, the Whanganui, was government's intent to act in good faith with the good spirit. There is no good spirit here. There is no good faith negotiations here. This is about conflict. This is about contestation. This is about privileging the most wealthy people in the nation at the cost of everyone around us. Social living costs in Australia is just plummeting down low. I sit on a very private, quiet, confidential group looking at national security and peace. And what we're seeing is the investment from this country is about defending our country from outside, when really, with climate change and water justice, we should be investing in the security from inside for our nation, for our people, for what we need to do in order to have both climate justice and water justice side by side. We do not have good faith negotiations. And as I said at the beginning of my coming in to speak with you and share with you, the biggest capital that we are losing in our nation, Australia, is trust capital. The people do not trust the government at any level, local, state or federal, because it is no longer about the people. It is about the predatory elite and privatising our most precious public resource so the wealthy can continue to sustain their wealth at the cost of everything and everyone around us. So this is the way we've got to work, is that we've got to push the boundaries. We've got to communicate in different ways. We've got to find a way to create peace, harmony, balance. We have to understand that we are universal citizens that exist in a pluriverse, not a universe, and that each and every one of us have a duty of care to really change our own individual behaviour, work with our families, our young leaders, our young women, raise them up, give them a voice, invest in them, build their capacity, help them to reach their full potential, ensure they can have intergenerational equity, and dream new dreams for planetary well-being and Mother Earth.
Thank you, Anne. And Carol, I think quickly we could go to Christine now she's back on and have a question from Christine. That would be wonderful.
Thanks, Sandra. And my apologies. I don't know what happened. I couldn't unmute anything. But anyway, I'm back. Look, we had some great questions in our group. Just quickly, the one I'm going to go with now is, Anne talked about us all being Indigenous to Mother Earth. Some First Nations women have had negative experiences at the hands of settler people, other people, and some of us settler, other people have had some negative experiences. Some of us don't even know, as Anne said, don't even know, have a relationship with Indigenous peoples. In our Zonta clubs, what can we do to invite First Nations women in so we can work with them in the interests of valuing our culture, valuing our whole Mother Earth? What can we do to invite them in to make them feel safe in order for them to come into our clubs?
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Christine. And as I said earlier, my sister was the first Social Justice Commissioner in this state and was awarded the International Zonta Award. So that was somebody who was a great ambassador for Zonta, who reached out and did many amazing things on the basis that you recognised that she was a good and decent human being that did a lot of good things. So, connecting to the Zonta Club, extending our networks. I'm not sure if you were on earlier, Christine, when I spoke about everywhere you are, particularly in Australia and everywhere around the world, there are Indigenous women in your communities doing what they're doing. They might not want to come into Zonta. Zonta might need to go in there. So it's all about building a relationship, building that trust capital, sharing what you've got, understanding there is no expectation, that all you want to do is see how you can share human to human and have this ethics of care and love. And what are they doing? How can you get involved? Because a relationship takes time to nurture. It takes time to build respect. It takes time to do these things in terms of healing. All of you who are Australians understand that most of Australians voted not to include Indigenous people in the Australian Constitution. But we don't give up. As I said, because we see time in a circle, we hold on to hope through a coalition of hope. So it's about reaching out, building relationships, building trust, building respect. You know, there will be things that I will start in my lifetime, but which needs to be picked up by my grandsons and granddaughters. I will move through this pathway. But as I said, we have to do what we can do in this moment in time and make that little drop of water fill into a bucket, which is Mother Earth, so that we can sustain ourselves forever. One of the questions was, what do I mean by Indigenous to Mother Earth, all of us? I travel the world. I spend a lot of time in France. I go way out into the back of France and I meet old people who've lived with the animals downstairs, they're upstairs, care for their environment. It's not a cultural difference. It's values and ethics and virtues. These are Indigenous virtues. We come from a world of we, not me, not of individualism, always about the collective well-being of everything around us. And this is what I'm saying, get in touch with these values, get in touch with these ethics. We can extend them. Before we got into a conversation globally around production, commercialization, politics of economics, this is how we lived, human to human, connected by our communities. And one of the things that's showing up with climate change, climate chaos, climate uncertainty, climate wars, is that the first line of defense is community. We reach out, we get to know our neighbor, we work together in a time of great distress and dis-ease. And so community is so, so important. So as I said, it's really just trying something new. Switch a light bulb on and go, I'm going to be brave and go down and see those Indigenous women who live down the street, who have got this entity going. Everywhere you are, we are there. Reach out, be brave, build that. Somebody had a question when I was passing to the elders about culture. How do you get cultural revival in places of colonialism? I really say, you know, the people who hurt us the most as Indigenous women are our Indigenous men who have changed their values and ethics and have become part of the predatory elite and now dictate to Indigenous women like myself about what can or can't be done. And I cannot work like that. As I said, this requires me to be brave. So the biggest pushback I have is from Indigenous men who believe that they know best, not just for Indigenous women, but for the whole community, and are on a business model of wanting to be predatory elite. And so it always is asking us to extend ourselves, to grow, to think of different ways to do business on country. So what I say to those people who live in a colonial framework, be brave, reclaim your culture, start to do what you believe needs to be passed on. So from that perspective, it's all about sharing, it's all about caring, it's all about recognizing that today is Mother Earth Day, and she must hold all of us together so that we start to dance and sing and tell these stories on the land a different way, so we can lift our young women up, lift our young men up, and work and walk in a world where we can continue to have, as I've said in my paper, a climate chance, a climate dream. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne. And it was good that we could fit in that other question. And we do have a way we will be able to send you some other questions that might be people might want answered. So many thanks, Anne, for your fabulous presentation today. You've opened many people's eyes on the issues relating to women, earth rights, and how we connect better with country. a quote that was given to me by Lilla Watson. You may know her. If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. If you've come here because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. So we look forward to working together with First Nations women around the world, as our futures are intrinsically linked to how we will treat Mother Earth. And we thank you for all your wisdom today. But I'd now like to hand over to Bridget Mather, who's in South Australia, and she'll introduce our next speaker. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Anne, for those powerful words. So today, on Mother Earth Day, we open our virtual art gallery, and we are very pleased to be able to preview that. Today, Julie Trone would normally have been previewing the art gallery, but Julie, who is a member of the Zonta Club of Fort Collins in District 12 in Colorado, USA, who has been an active member of Zonta International and the Zonta Says Now working group, has led the virtual art gallery initiative since its inception. However, poor Julie had a skiing accident and has suffered severe concussion, so cannot present today. We're looking at a picture on the screen at the moment of Julie's backyard. She's on the mend, she just needs rest and quiet. So Carol Thiebold and Hilary Norfleet will be stepping in to introduce the gallery today. Over to you, Carol.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Bridget. And thank you, Anne. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I'm sure we will be talking more. Yes, sometimes things don't go to plan, and we all wish Julie really a speedy recovery. Apparently, looking at computer screens makes her dizzy at the moment. So if you're listening to this, Julie, please be aware that we're all thinking of you and wishing you well. As we said, Julie led the art gallery team that began with a discussion between her and Pamela Morgan, who many of you have met through this think tank. More think tank members volunteered to join the team, and special thanks go to Mita Mitra in Germany, Sally Ann Zambelbej in Côte d'Ivoire, Laura Wood in Canada, and Hilary Northfleet in the USA, who fine-tuned the web-based design. It's amazing what can happen from one conversation. Before we go into the virtual art gallery, I want to share with you these social media items developed by our social media team. The team is led by Pia Hultgren and includes Julie Trone, Dee Croft, Malin Bunstad Otterson from Sweden, Mari de los Santos, who's with us today, from the Philippines. Dee Croft designed these posts, and many thanks to Dee for doing so. We'll put them with the video of today's meeting so you can share them through your club's social media pages from Earth Day. I'll just show you this little video. Isn't that lovely? That's what Dee did. So you can share that on social media. Whoops, go on the next page. We play it all day if you like. This is the virtual art gallery, and I'm just going to click the link to go online, and I just want to make sure that Hilary is around. Hilary, make yourself known. I think she was an avatar somewhere. Say hi, Hilary.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Now, Hilary doesn't know this yet, but while we're moving to the art gallery site, I'm going to ask her to talk us through it, because there's no one that knows this website better than Hilary. So, Hilary, where would you like me to start when we go for this journey through the art gallery?
Oh, lovely. So I guess we'll just start at the top. We've tried to make the gallery very easy to navigate, without a lot of clutter. We incorporated some of the quotes that we thought were very poignant in the upper right hand corner there. And every time you load a page, a new quote will show up there. We also have a link right on the homepage to submissions. And this, I think, will be very important moving forward so that we can have people provide their submissions throughout the year and have many, many pieces for next year's and following year's gallery. So here on the homepage are this year's gallery pieces. They're all on here. We are thinking that in coming years, we would love to be able to have so many that we'll have to put them in different sections, perhaps by both where the individual artist is from, as well as the types of different art that we're collecting. So we've got poetry, we've got reading, we've got videos, we've got painting and acrylic, and just so many different types of artwork here. It's been just lovely watching everything come in and coming together like this. So if we click on any one of the pieces, we will then go to its individual page.
Go to this one first.
There you are. Sustainable future. And so here we just have the artist's name, the location that they're from, and the blurb that was sent by the artist about their artwork, as well as the identification of the medium in which it was developed. There are different templates for different types. So here we have a video that actually the young boy is reading a poem, and then we've actually got the poem written out for people to walk through as well.
Go back to the home. We have
yes, and also if we didn't want to go back to the home each time, you'll see to the far left and right there are previous and next navigation symbols, so that we could just scroll through them all.
Yeah, just go back to the home there. We had this one. There's Flower and Flood.
Yes, and also if you click on the images, they'll open up in what's called a light box.
Like that one.
If we have a larger one there. There it is. So this one, obviously, we don't have one that's a larger one, but some of them we have larger ones that we are actually linking to.
Work our way through. There we go. I press on that bit there, and that's a visual search.
That's a visual search, yeah.
Okay. So, here we go, another thing. Climate change disproportionately impacts women and girls. I see what you mean about the different quotes in the corner. And this one talks about the trees in northwest Tasmania. So we get a bit of the history of what's going on, and a bit of the science, carbon sinks, etc. I know this one. I did this one. And I'll click here. There it is for the full size one. That's my poetry.
I called it your Barbie pink, Carol.
The pink. Do you like the pink? Yeah.
Your Barbie pink.
Barbie pink.
Barbie pink.
That was a photo I took of a flower as I was going for a walk just near my house. And I just loved all the stamens around the flower here. It just reminded me of how we all connect. So I thought that was quite sweet. And but you can read all of these as we move through. We have I think it was a beautiful painting here. Was it this one? I think this was Mita. Yeah, Mita Mitra.
Yes.
If I press that, does that come up any bigger, Hilary? It's not, I think
it should, but it doesn't seem to be doing it for your browser.
This is normal, isn't it? So
absolutely.
That's a beautiful picture there that Mita did. Thank you, Mita. That's lovely. It's really, and the picture captures a scene of a forest fire in Saxon, Switzerland. national park in eastern Germany. Renowned for its freestanding sandstone cliffs and dense greenery, the region burst into flames in the hot summer of 22. I saw photos of charred trees and some still standing stalwart amidst red flames in the national park. On a family vacation to Australia, she witnessed a wildfire. While driving along Princess Highway to Melbourne, we noticed the sky had suddenly turned dark. Grey smoke billowed from nearby trees, and eventually we saw burning bushes. This moment has a place in my recreation of a forest fire. I'd like to give recognition here to all the firefighters who work in life-threatening situations. It's really good because you get the picture, but you also get the interpretation and what triggered people to do the art, which is really nice. And we have another one here. This is, it's Helen's. This represents the exhilaration of a young woman overwhelmed by the beauty of a pristine, untouched environment. It also represents a nature to preserve for her children, and her children's children. Just a reminder of Earth. These are really, I like this one. There's a mother heart, love heart, summer and winter. Thank you, Mother Earth, for your beautiful nature and all the wonderful beings on your planet. Thank you for your selfless generosity and infinite support. Since a very long time, we've been able to indulge in an absolutely perfect system, which is called nature and creation. All over the world, creation is the most mysterious process generating life. But recently, the secret and the magic of Mother Earth's planet are being endangered. Hopefully, human awareness, respect, gratitude, and love, as evidenced by the love heart here, will reduce suffering and stop the decline of our unique world. Isn't that beautiful?
Mm. I did want to mention as well, since you put me on the spot,
Yes.
that one of our other cohorts is on the meeting today. Just a shout out to Laura Wood. We won't make her to speak, but we would like to just give a nod and say thank you, dear, for being here.
That's fantastic. And it's lovely to be able to acknowledge your work, Laura, and to also see all the different things here. I mean, this one here, this is a video of an iceberg, the demise of an iceberg breaking up. It's just a short video of just being captured. It's from an iPhone. We're hoping that this will give people ideas for, as Anne was saying in her piece, about having more poetry and dance and singing and culture. We all can heal through the visual arts. And let's look at that. And there it was, gone. Just
a different way to tell the story.
Different way to tell the story. Exactly.
Mm.
It's not just about paintings. There's so many different ways that we can express and share what we've seen and how we feel about different things. It just sort of disappears, and there it's gone. Yeah. But you see the colours of it as well, but I encourage you to explore the pictures and see what's there. We also had another video, didn't we, for I'm just thinking of the Zonta Club of Sofia. They had their celebration, and with this one they were all had dancing, and I think it's this one here. They had a community celebration.
So I've put the link to this in the chat.
Yeah.
So that everyone can save it.
So this video is about 9-10 minutes, so we don't have time to show it today. But as you work further forward, you can see here, where are we? There we go. You can see a big thing around this Zonta now. Does that stand out well?
Yes.
So I thought that was really, gives you different ideas of what different people are doing around the world and sharing inspiration. We have, so we had the photographs, we had files, we had just a young child picking up litter. You know, it's just a sort of a symbolism of how everyone at all ages is contributing to the solution. And here, oh, it's got little quotes at the top here as well. And we have the other ones I love this one, the talking heads with all the different faces, talking about my title of the work is Talking Heads, talking about change, but are stuck between a glass block wall and our earth. This represents the frustration from the inaction by our governments to protect our world, especially for women and girls. That is just so well put. And I think we've all felt frustrations at different times. So I thought that was really, really fascinating. But they had firefighters. Oh, how can we not forget them? You know, all the things that we must do to work together to help things along. And we also have, what I was just going to pick out here. Oh, yes, this one. This was beautiful drawing created by my daughter when she was 14. She's now 31. I hope she will soon become a Zontian. The likes the painting because this woman represents life necessary for the reconstruction of our planet. So there's drawings and photographs. This is Julie's one. She did, see me in the heart of the cottonwood tree. I see you from my penthouse space. I think I can get this one bigger, can't we? No, it doesn't come up. I see from my penthouse space, our roots are completely you, me, and the tree. Do you see me peering from the old cottonwood tree where I grow up with sisters and brothers, father and mother? You look up, missing the heart of the old cottonwood tree, gleam in your eye. Dare I ask why? What do you see? Not me, nor the life in the old cottonwood tree. It is money. You call it prosperity. Interesting. The pencil drawing of the baby owl peering out of the tree represented a time of exploring the skill of drawing, which I did not believe I was capable of learning. It became the inspiration for the poem. The intent is to provoke questions about the true value of nature. It's lovely, it's all layered. The glasses were a last-minute whimsy in honor of my family of glass wearers. The background photo was taken early one cold winter morning while walking the dog and seeing the owl. It's so lovely. It just stops and makes you think. It's not a hurry. It's a connectedness. And as Anne, this one was interesting too. Look at the fashion. It's amazing how that one's how come up. And she's just got all these yellow and black tape around the fashion model. She's wearing a design by Brooklyn-based designer artist Michael Seri in the Untitled Fair during Art Basel Week in Miami, 2023. She's covered in tape emblazoned with the words, hot, hot, global warming, bringing the climate crisis issue to the heart of the occasion. It's interesting what we see. Anyway, I encourage you all to go through the gallery and at your leisure and enjoy it. And thanks again to everybody that has been working so hard behind the scenes to make it work. Back to you, Bridget.
Thank you, Carol. And I think also a great thank you to you for your contribution to this and for Hilary showing us through the gallery today. It certainly echoes the words that Anne brought to us, that things speak to us through poetry, through photos, through stories. We all appreciate that work and that what Julie has done and her team in bringing this to fruition, and to the social media team who created the post to support it. It is truly a great body of work. As you said, it has been a learning year. Yeah. Let's hope that we can encourage more Zontians to share their creations on our next Mother Earth Day. Now, let's look at what's happening since the last meeting. Now, I'm going to run through a few things here, mostly as an update for everybody, but the working group, oops, and I've just lost my page. The working group hosted an online workshop as part of the non-government organisation Commission on the Status of Women Forum 68, which we all know is in New York. The working group showed how climate change exacerbates women's poverty and examines how different methods can be used to measure a successful economy based on sustainability and people's health and well-being. Many members of the working group also helped to facilitate conversation circles. The videos of the presentations, slides, toolkits with all the links used can be found on our working page at zontasaysnow.org.au. It's not long until our international convention in Brisbane. We have 3 Zonta Says Now activities. And if you haven't registered by now, I suggest you all do so. A pre-convention virtual workshop is planned for Friday, 24 May, and this will replace our May intercontinental think-tank meeting. The virtual workshop will investigate how we are uniting for climate justice and equality. The workshop will be available to Zontians who have registered for convention, and after the live session, a recording will appear on the Convention Hoover app. Your access to the workshop is via the Hoover app that opens on the 30th of April, and if you haven't downloaded that app, I suggest you do so soon. A face-to-face workshop will be held in Brisbane on the 27th of June to explore how we and our communities can be disaster ready, particularly important for Australians, but also across the world. This session, I think, is already full. A third event is our Zonta Says Now panel discussion featuring Lisa Blair, Dipsar Bihula and Carol Thiebold. Lisa Blair single-handedly sailed her boat Climate Action Now around Antarctica in record-breaking time, raising climate awareness and taking environmental samples on her journey. Dipsar is a 2020 Young Women in Public Affairs International Awardee from Nepal who has set up a women's-led not-for-profit company to address period poverty. She produces compostable menstrual pads from banana fibre and educates girls on menstrual health. And most of you will know Carol, who's been on our video today, the Zontian who got out of her comfort zone to start the Zonta Says Now. I think we should all give Carol a round of applause at this point. This will be a fascinating discussion, so please, if you have the opportunity, don't miss it. I'll now hand back to Christine, who is on a holiday in Queensland, to tell us more about what we can look forward to in the coming months.
Thanks, Bridget. Yes, the working group has been planning ahead for the next biennium. As you are aware, in Zonta's strategic plan, Zonta Says Now is identified as Zonta's campaign for climate justice. And the last edition of the Zontian magazine, I think late last year, pointed out that climate justice puts gender equity and human rights at the core of decision-making and action on climate change. The article described how the Zonta Says Now working group was set up to implement the recommendations in Zonta's statement on climate change. The recommendation calls on governments and members to take action around meeting obligations under the Paris Agreement and increasing awareness of climate justice, and educating girls and encouraging them to take up STEM careers and to be part of the global response to climate change. Also, involving more women in decision-making so we have gender balance in governing bodies on environmental sustainability. Enabling equal economic opportunities by addressing gender gaps in childcare, elder care, pay, and anything that is a barrier to women participating fully and equally in the economy, and including women in disaster preparedness and planning so their needs are met. This biennium, we have focused on raising awareness of climate justice and disaster preparedness. These recommendations are reflected in our 2 workshops for the convention. For the next biennium, we will focus on involving more women in decision-making on environmental sustainability and also look at how we can enable women's full and equal participation in the economy. Our presentation at the NGO CSW Commission on the Status of Women 68 helped to set the scene for the next weigh-in, so be sure to have a look at it. I'll now hand over to Cheryl in New South Wales to share some news items.
Thanks, Christine. Yes, a lot is happening at the moment. Registrations are open for the convention in Brisbane, and don't forget to register for workshops and other events. If you're flying to Brisbane, have a look at the tips to reduce your carbon footprint and the guide to environmentally responsible air travel. Also be aware that the virtual workshops will be held during May. The program is currently being finalised, so keep up to date on the convention website. Check out this good news story. Around 2,500 older women from Switzerland identified that increased heat associated with climate change was putting their lives at risk. They felt the government was not taking climate change seriously enough, and the weak government policies violated their fundamental human rights. The European Court of Human Rights agreed with them. It took 9 years, and congratulations to these amazing women. They are an inspiration to us all. The road to climate justice is not easy. We know the problems and have identified many solutions. Sometimes it can be very frustrating when action feels so slow. And here is one way that scientists care for themselves. It put a smile on my face. However, rather than screaming into a pillow, how about taking some time just to breathe on Earth Day? The air connects all living things and reminds us that we are part of nature. Take a walk outside, feel the sun on your face, admire nature's beauty and listen to the birds. Reflect on how we are building it better, more sustainable world for women and girls. Then, when you are feeling relaxed, make a donation to the Foundation's Empowerment Fund so that the future generations can enjoy a better world too. And for a little more inspiration, check out the Ask Nature website that shows how much we can learn from nature. For example, did you know that water bears, one of nature's smallest life forms, create a special sugar to dehydrate themselves when times are hard and hydrate again when conditions improve? This knowledge is being used to help us store vaccines at room temperature. The website contains hundreds of examples of how we can learn from nature. But also take a look at Nikolaj Coster-Waldau's 6th series part, An Optimist's Guide to the Planet. If Nikolaj looks familiar, he played the part of Jaime Lannister in Games of Thrones. In real life, he is a UNDP Goodwill Ambassador. The series can be viewed on the web. Just Google An Optimist's Guide to the Planet. Here is a trailer so you can get a taste of the show.
It's only a minute and a half, but this is the actual website, and you can see that down here, we just have the Optimist's Guide trailer.
I think I'm loaded. Let's go to the cooler place, huh?
It is worrying because sometimes you just feel like you can't do anything about it, being just little you.
It breaks your heart and you think, oh my God, what are we doing?
How can we make tomorrow better than yesterday? You can't waste any more time.
It's all hands on that moment.
Around the world, people are working for a better tomorrow.
Fourth degree in mind blowing.
To be a carbon neutral jet fuel.
We grow vegetables, but to me, we give life. I believe when history is written, and we look back at this moment in time, this will be when we started to transform the way we live and form the future we want.
A little worm that actually solve plastic. In my architecture, I harmonize people with nature. Creating house, this is the definition of living outside the box.
This show is about solutions and the people behind them. I'm optimistic we will be able to preserve the natural beauties of the world.
Jamie Lannister on the room page. Colleagues are here, I'm done.
My name is Nikolai Costa-Waldau, and this is an optimist's guide to the planet. Wow, you like this, don't you?
Sorry about that. Isn't that just gorgeous? Sorry, Sharon.
It's all right. It is very uplifting to know that through our work, eventually, Davor will be able to go to school. Ian will not be sold into marriage. Judith can look after Claire without worrying about her job. Maria can be cool in her own home. Ralia can sell her goods and feed her family, and Freya can be in a permanent home. Over to you, Vicky, in Tasmania.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. So it's finally to our next meetings. We have had to change the dates, as Carol alluded before, for both the May and June meetings. The May meeting will be replaced by our Zonta International Convention virtual workshop. This will be held on Friday, the 24th of May at 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Chicago time. Registered attendees to the convention access the workshop via the convention's Hoover app. The event will be recorded, and in June, our intercontinental think tank meeting has been put back 1 week to Sunday, the 23rd of June at 10 a.m. UTC, Coordinated Universal Time. This meeting will be hosted by Zontians in Europe and Africa. We are currently updating our websites to reflect these changes. We hope you have enjoyed today's meeting and have learned a little bit more about Australia. Thanks again to Professor Anne Poelina and the team for hosting today's events. Remember, through our gender equal climate action, we are building a better world for women and girls. If you have any questions, please email the working group at info@zontasaysnow.org.au. We look forward to seeing you at the pre-convention virtual workshop next month. So remember to register for the convention so you can attend. As Carol would say, keep breathing, keep smiling, and have fun. Enjoy Earth Day. Goodbye.
Bye.